She's a brick, ba 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 da house. Hey everybody, what's up? I had my mute button on and I didn't even realize it. So sorry about that. Welcome to this week's film on movies to be murdered by. I am Jessie Drew, your movie psychologist, and to my side is my brother in arms, Jeff. Let the people know who you are.
I'm Jeff. That's it. I guess you can call me Jeff Watson Esquire. Um, we'll go with that. We'll go with that. I think that's good for this week.
I think so. Um, Jeff is the attorney to all movies.
Yeah.
So we have an attorney in the house, psychologist in the house. We're covered. We've got you covered. My son wanted to know if that's the Joker's laugh and the theme song. Is that the Joker? No, I didn't. I kind of was like, oh, I don't know about that, but I figured I'd ask.
It is one Charles Lee Ray, aka Chucky.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
so yeah.
Well, that would make more sense given our given our movie selections.
But I will have to say I love the laugh of the joke. Like the most recent Joker film. Like his laugh was just out there. But
His laugh was out there. And I love the Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie. Saw it 8 times in the theater, and yeah, I saw it 8 times in the theater. Once with my dad too, who he really enjoyed it. But anyway, shout out Daddy. But I have to give the laugh. My favorite Joker laugh goes to Mark Hamill, doing Joker. He's excellent. But Joaquin, I'm not going to argue with you. So today we are talking about the Belko Experiment. People, have you seen this movie? Because it's so much fun. Once we get into it, I think you'll be able to tell whose pick it was. And Jeff, I'm gonna roll this ball right over to you, and you kind of let us know what's up with this movie.
It's like we were saying before we started recording.
Mm-hmm.
With the movie, you can't really do like a traditional plot summary because there's just so much going on in this movie, and it's so fun. And I feel like the moment that we start to really get into everything, it just happens so fast. So basically, what we do is we get into this, and is it I Will Survive at the very beginning?
I think so. There's some really fun Spanish pop covers, like pop songs covered in Spanish, which are great because I speak Spanish fluently, and still sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, what is that?
It's so great, but that's how we start out. We get that, and we're in Colombia, and we're just seeing kind of the different things going on around, and you get some beautiful shots of the landscape and everything, and then you get more of the gritty and rugged street shots. But soon we get into Belko Industries, which is it's an American company essentially that has a bunch of Americans working there to kind of help facilitate some things in Colombia. And honestly, we start out, and you get to meet some of the main players. Mike Milch, who's played by John Gallagher, Barry Norris, who's played by Todd Goldwyn, and you just get to meet some of these people. And honestly, you get in there, and it feels like this is a pretty fun environment, pretty cool. To work in. Everybody's kind of having fun. It's like this, everybody's kind of ragging on each other. You get the cool, kind of funny security guard, Evan.
I liked him.
Yeah, I liked Evan too. And people are starting to notice that there are some guards, some different looking people, and they don't really know who's who. And
Yeah, they have machine guns too, right? Yeah, they have machine guns.
yeah, and everybody's walking into this like old hangar, and it's like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, we we get this voice that comes over and basically says, they don't say we're going to play a game, but it's
but if they did,
hey, but it's like, hey, over the next however many minutes, you have to kill this amount of employees. And everybody's kind of like, oh, this is a joke. This, whatever. This is crazy. Until it's not crazy, until people try to get out and the entire building is just covered with this metal. All the windows and doors are just covered by these barricades. And
it's like the Bat car.
Oh,
it's like the Batmobile, like when it like all the shields go up and all the metal things. It's like all of a sudden there are these solid metal shutters that start shuttering up the whole building, and it's literally like you're like enclosed. You know what I mean? It's that I found just like, if you have claustrophobia, bye-bye, because it just make yourself one of the first to be killed, because that was too much.
It's crazy. And like people obviously start freaking out, and people that are up on the roof, and some people up there partaking in a little bit of a herbal refreshment. So yeah, I don't go into great detail on that, but I'm sure everyone knows what I'm talking about. And then you start to figure out that these guards are they're pretty serious about making sure that people don't communicate with the outside world. And at one point, they even start shooting towards the roof. And
yeah, that was kind of scary, because they were that was a surprise.
Yeah,
that was a surprise. They make those signs like, "Hey, come help us!" Like they're trying to decide, like, should we start killing people or should we try a different method? And the main girl that dates the main guy, who are like the main couple and the main characters, she comes up with the idea, like, why don't we write like, "Come help us, we need help," or whatever, on some banners, and we'll hang it over the side of the building. And you start seeing the split amongst the employees. Like, some are like, yo, F this, like, we need to get some guns and we need to start firing. And the rest of the people, the majority, are like, we're not down for killing anybody. Like, let's try, it sounds silly, but let's try hanging these banners and maybe we'll catch the attention of somebody. When, going right back to you, Jeff, the guards are not having it, and they start shooting, and this one dude gets his hand shot, and it's not a joke. But wait, can we like just rewind for a second and go back to when maybe I'm getting it out of sequence, but the main guy, Mike, is his name Mike? Mike. Yeah. They all start realizing that this is for serious, and do you want to do the honors?
Because so kind of rewind a little bit. At the beginning of the movie, we get a new person that's starting, and they're kind of the lens that we see the office through at the beginning. And we we hear one of the higher ups asking her, did you get your I forget what they called it exactly, but basically, did you get your sensor or whatever? And she's like, yeah, that kind of deal. And then so we fast forward a little bit, and we figure out pretty soon that if you don't do what this voice tells you to do, and if you don't accomplish what they say, like if you have to kill 30 people in 30 minutes, you better make that happen. Because what we find out is the little plant, the little sensor, is in the back of these people's heads. And while they're told, hey, this is a way to track you just in case you get lost here because it's a dangerous place to be, we want to make sure that you don't get hurt or anything. What we find out is these little sensors actually have explosive devices in them. And when they are not able to accomplish this goal that the voice gives them, then they just start offing people by exploding the sensors in the back of their heads. And then we get to the point where Mike and everyone starts to figure out, okay, yeah, this is real now. So Mike goes into the bathroom and he attempts to cut this sensor out of his head. And that was such a tense moment because it's like they've given him a countdown and he's still
Yeah.
working the back of his head. And you're thinking like, oh, Mike, don't do it to yourself. Don't do it. They're going to kill you. And yeah, I mean, that was such a tense moment, Jesse.
It was so tense. You know, you get the 10, 9, 8, and you're like, these people aren't messing around. Like that, we've already seen, like, we saw the back of someone's head blown off and someone go poking in there with like a pen to go see, like, is this for real? Like, what just happened here? Like, because they thought at first they think that they're being shot at. People are like, oh my God, they're shooting, because they just start exploding random people's heads just to kind of make their point that they're serious. And people assume, because you hear like a pop, 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 and like people fall down, there's blood, people think they're shooting, you know, so everybody like, falls to the ground and they're like, oh my God, they were being shot at. No. And you see like just the back of someone's head exploded out, and it's really, if I was to imagine what that would look like in real life, how they did it with their practical effects, that's how I would picture a head being blown off having looked at. So I don't, that didn't make any sense grammatically. I'm just saying, whatever. If I was to imagine it, that's how it would look. And they did, I think they did an excellent job with their practical effects in this movie. Hands down, awesome job. That scene where he, like, what is it, a box cutter that he uses to try to get the what's a face out of the chip, like whatever, the chip or whatever, the sensor or whatever, like out of the back of his head. I mean, I actually give him a lot of credit. I think that was an incredibly brave thing to do. I think I was surprised that they didn't let him go through with it. That like he, like the movie, not the Belko Experiment people, but like I kind of thought the movie would allow him to actually get it out and then on the sly be like a hero, because he doesn't have to worry about it being, but yeah, that doesn't happen. Just down, like, his girlfriend like yoinks him out of the bathroom, and like they're like, don't think about trying that because next time no one's getting a countdown, like, which makes me kind of wonder, like, I think that they had him pegged as someone who may survive this experiment or something, because why would they give him a second chance when they just exploded random people's heads off? So it's either maybe they had him in mind that he might be a good like survivor. I'm sorry, I'm losing all my words. That he might be one of the people to survive at the end of this, or maybe it's just shitty screenwriting. I don't know, but it definitely made for a very tense moment and for the overall enjoyment of the film, in my opinion.
Now, I've got to add this in too, because you talked about the practical effects. We don't get them for very long, but you brought this up when we talked about this before this. Michael Rooker is
my God.
He's in this
Why?
movie.
Why?
For a cup of coffee, basically.
Yeah, why? Like, you have Michael Rooker. Like, I get it that like these. See, look, I'm gonna categorize this as these game movies that we watch, and they like the higher level ones, the fancier ones that have some really good like actors. They knock them out like really quickly, and like, I mean, I get it, because it's like you think like, oh, Michael Rooker's going to be around, like, it's Michael Rooker, freaking Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer guy, but like, we don't get him for that long. And I was like, I kind of expected that, but part of me was like, come on. So yeah, we don't get dear old Michael Rooker for very long.
And honestly, the scene in which he's killed, is weird because he's a mechanic there.
Yeah.
And he has basically an understudy or someone that works with him. And the guy is freaking out, like he's freaking out. And Michael Rooker's character is like, hey, calm down, everything's gonna be fine. And they kind of get into it, and the guy hits him in the head with a wrench. And
I don't know.
I mean, you're looking at it and you're like, okay, well, he's stunned, but he's okay. And then as he turns, he has in his skull, if you've ever heard the expression, they had their skull caved in, that's what this was. And it was so well done from a just a practical effect standpoint because it looks so doggone real.
Absolutely. It looks like his head, because I was looking for they have to make the head look bigger with the effects so that they can then do that to the fake head or whatever. No, this looks like his head was dented with whatever it was that he hit him with, and it looked real. With him kind of being disoriented and just kind of falling back. That to me is scarier than the heads being blown off, because that's more realistic. You're just dying, and then if I could for a second.
Of course you can. It's your too, so.
One thing that bothered me now that we're talking about it, I heard you mention okay, there's this new employee, this female who is starting. It's her first day. Nice first day, by the way. And hers is a lens that we see a lot of this through. And what happens down in the basement with Michael Rooker and the guy from Batman: The Dark Knight. She's seeing all of that. They don't know she's there, but she's seeing all of that. And then the guy, the apprentice or whatever, he busts her and she's like, no, I didn't see anything. I'm just kidding. I gotta go. But I know I'm going back and forth throughout the timeline of this movie, but she comes to nothing in the end. We really get a sense, we're seeing a lot of this through her and then also through Mike, who is the other main character. And so you get the feeling as an audience, as one would think, that we're going to see some sort of climax action with her involved, her surviving, throughout most of this movie is for a reason. She's going to have some part in a set piece later or something, and it really she comes to nothing. Her character doesn't, unless I'm forgetting something, I don't think she really even saves anybody or does anything. She just kind of just hangs out and hides and, ooh, I'm spooky and I'm hiding, and this is kind of scary because they can't see me. And the one guy who kind of flirts with her the first hour that she's there, he's on team kill everybody, but he sees her and he leaves her alone. So you kind of think she's alive for some sort of reason that we'll see later on in the film, and then
it doesn't materialize.
No, we always alert spoilers. Our show is full of spoilers. She dies later, she ends up getting shot. She ends up getting shot, and it's just for nothing. So that's probably the only significant thing in the film that I had a problem with. I think that maybe she had scenes that wound up on the cutting room floor. I don't know, but
it was. Yeah, I'm going to get to that because you just brought up something else too. So obviously we get this crazy, game that everyone's playing. And spoiler alert, by the way, if you haven't figured this out yet, if you're an OG listener, then you already know that I picked this movie. You already know that if you've been listening to us, if you've been rocking with us for a while, I picked this movie. If you're new, just know a lot of the game movies that we pick, if it involves a game of some sort, it's probably
it's an Attorney Watson pick.
It is. Just go ahead and be ready to know that it's
yeah.
But we get past the initial killing spree, and then things kind of start to thin out, and you get less people. But obviously, the killing can't stop because this game continues. So then what ends up happening is everyone starts to splinter off. And you get some people that are just incredibly freaked out. And you've got one dude basically hanging out in a refrigerator.
Yeah, that's right. That guy. Sorry.
I mean, you get people like hanging out in the break room. You've got like all the higher ups, like John C. McGinley's character, who, by the way, love this dude. I love him, absolutely love him in everything that he does.
Second appearance on our show. Remember,
right.
Surviving the Game. Surviving the Game.
So yeah, but love him. So all the higher ups want to go up and get the guns because they know that they have guns there in the building. Evan, the security guard, doesn't want to give them the keys to do that, to get them out of the safe. Eventually, it leads to his demise, Evan, which I really liked his character. I mean, there were a lot of funny characters in this movie, but I felt like he was really funny.
Yeah, and he was noble. He was a noble character. He was like, the boss comes to ask him for the keys to the guns, and he's like, I can't do that. Like, I'm not going to give you the keys. So, and I was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's
like,
right.
He's really dedicated, that's what, and he's like, you have to. He's like, that's my job. I can't give you that. I was like, all right.
There you go. He's like, well, I'll just quit then.
Yeah.
Which was great. So you got this group of higher ups that then gets all of the weapons and everything, and eventually we get to the point where I think it's 30 people that they have to kill in 2 hours, and then they start, these higher ups to start taking people out, and one of the craziest scenes for me, and I wanted to ask you about this. One of the craziest scenes for me is once the higher ups, Barry and all of these folks, have the guns and everything. They get everybody into the lobby of the building, and they ask, how many of you have children under the age of whatever? And they have those people go off to the side. Then they say, if you're over 60, raise your hand. They put those people off to another side, and then they start asking other questions. And essentially what you figure out is they're separating the people who they deem worthy of living and the ones that they feel like they have to kill. What did you think about that scene in particular?
I felt like that's where you see sort of like a compromise, because the few guys that are like, I think it's like three or four guys maybe that are the ones that are like, let's grab some guns and start killing people because it's like, like dog eat dog. I feel like though that like, because there was that one guy in the group who was like kind of sensitive and he was friends with everybody, but also he's like, hey, I have a family and I need to get home to my family. I feel like probably like the separation of people was a compromise, because I think if it was left up to the other guys, they would have just started lining random people up, but making it sort of and making it have some sort of sense was comforting to who, I don't know, but to them maybe, or maybe they, I don't know, for the employees' sake, maybe the COO of the company still had some sort of compassion towards his employees, because he was the main dude. He was like, what the HR guy said to him, like, I know you're like ex like military or something, right? Didn't he? And so he knows, like, he knows he's got it in him to just shoot and kill. But he just did have a hard time, you could see, like, and he was telling them, turn the music up, like, before he started killing, because he didn't want to hear it himself. He didn't want to hear himself killing people. I thought it was, I mean, in that situation, if you're going to take that mentality of like, okay, it's kill or be killed, then is that what you start doing? Like, listen, you're over 60, you had a chance. Like, now we've got to like let other people have a chance to live. But it's so ridiculous also, because as I think it was Mike said it, like, they're not going to let us go. Like, I don't know who you're kidding. Like, you know, they may kill us, but like, you know, even if we follow their rules, like they're not letting anybody out of here. Like why or how would they ever even do that? Just to start off, I mean, you know, we could tell everybody about what happened in here. They're not going to let us go.
Right.
So, also I wanted to say, like, you know, how funny would it be if like, because we have like the voice coming over the like the loudspeaker throughout the building, like for like every like decision they made, like, you know, you just hear the loudspeaker, like how like, you know, the guy was like, you know, oh, I'm not gonna hand over the keys, you know, and the guy's like, you have to, and he's like, no, I'm not going to, and the guy's like, good job. Or like if they're like, you know, if some like that guy in the freezer, you see he's like, you see him like walking to the freezer and they're like, you don't want to do that. Like it's too cold, did you bring a sweater? Like, you know, you just hear like random like stupid little, I would have loved that. That's like a totally different movie, but like it's just so funny thinking of that. Like, you know, that's a crazy dent you have on your head, Michael Rooker. Like, you know,
Yeah,
so,
I mean, that scene for me, like it shows, even when Barry was killing people, you could see him wincing every time.
yeah.
So it's like he's still trying to hold on to a little bit of his humanity and compassion, but at the same time, he realizes that okay, this no matter what we do, like maybe we'll kill enough people to appease them, but what's really the end game? And then we get to kind of the ending stages where we find out that it goes down to people's individual kill count.
You know what? Wait, before we exit that room where people are lined up to be shot at, I was like, kind of like, I was kind of like, man, because like halfway through that, like they have like everybody like lined up who they're gonna kill. Halfway through, they stop.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then what happens? They all leave and go to like another room or Mike or something. I don't know. Something happens where they all stop. And so like only half the people that they had lined up for this, you know, firing squad, like actually die. And I'm like, that sucks. Like,
Yeah.
you know, if it had been like 2 minutes sooner, like so many more of them would still be alive. I mean, not for very long anyway, but still.
The power goes out.
The power goes out. Okay, so that girl, I guess that was her, that girl that I was mentioning, the new girl. I guess that's the big thing that she does is she turns all the power off and surprises everybody. So the killing stops and they all manage to escape that firing squad room. But I mean, I guess that's it. I mean, that was a pretty cool scene. I do have to admit that was pretty cool. Anyway, go on. I'm sorry.
Oh, so I mean, we find out that you know that this comes down to people's individual kill count, and you know, at one point, once we figure that out, that's the scene that you were talking about. This girl, this young lady has escaped just about everything that you can think of. She's been given break after break. The guy that has a crush on her kind of sees her and looks the other way, and you're thinking like, okay, she's about to like join forces with Mike and the rest of the group, and she's coming down the elevator. The elevator opens up, and Barry just just
just like one in the head, and
that was it. Like she's done. You know, she's done for, and it's, you just get to the point where it's like, really, like that. She did all of this stuff. She made it this far, and she just caught a bullet to the head just for taking the elevator. I mean, you know, she's just trying to come down to the lobby to join the rest of the party since she's been hiding out the rest of the time, and she catches a bullet to the head. So, you know, we start to.
That's not right.
It's not.
That's not right.
So we start to check this thing out, and obviously the big wigs are high up in kill count, and Mike's trying to still do what he's doing, and obviously the sad scene is when he's kind of fighting, and I'm trying to think of it. I think it was Barry. He's fighting Barry, and his girlfriend gets shot.
She catches a bullet, but we don't. It's like you don't really see.
Yeah,
You just see that people are shooting at them, but you don't see that anything happens, and then all of a sudden you realize, yeah, she's dying.
dying, and and at that point, Mike just he goes in self preservation mode. He tries to hide it. Um, Actually, it was John C. McGinley's character that shot at, I believe. So,
Oh
um,
right.
because
Oh right, because he's kind of like a lech, like throughout this whole movie. Like you see him at the beginning, he's like all like to like he's
all
just
about her, and she's just
yeah.
like, dude, no, no, thank you. And then at one point, she's like, hey, you think I'm flirting with you? And he's like, yeah, and she's like, F off. And
Mm.
is that clear enough for you? And so yeah, so we get to that point, and we'll fast forward because this is one of those movies where we could sit here and tell you every single thing about it.
Yeah, it's not.
You just got to see it. Like you just have to see it. So we get to the point where we'll just go ahead and fast forward. Um, and Mike is kind of the one that's standing tall,
Yeah,
and he defeats everyone in there, and he's the one that gets out. And
which is
uh,
I, which is I like which is it's funny because he was the one who more so than anybody else was like, we cannot kill anybody. It's wrong to kill, and we're not doing it. And like was like fighting the whole time, but also being clever, and like helping people and trying to like himself also stay safe and stuff. And he was on that firing squad line, but
yeah,
he didn't, I think it was probably him who was going to get killed next or something like that. And then the power went out. But yeah, it's just like ironic, I guess, in the wrong sense of the word, how just we use irony in the wrong sense all the time. But like, that he would be the one to end up, being the last survivor who ended up killing a bunch of people. So,
and
oh,
at that point, another thing that happens amidst all the chaos is that these little explosives,
oh
you know,
yeah,
what they started doing is taking these out. The guy, it's always someone that smokes weed that comes up with these ingenious ideas to search for a deeper meaning or something like that. So the guy starts to take all the little explosives out. So anyway, fast forward back to the end of the movie. Mike is the lone survivor. He's the sole survivor, and he's escorted to this hangar where all of these guards are and everything, and the guy that's the voice is there, and you see this board behind him, and it's a button with everyone's name, and you figure out like that's how they were exploding these devices, that he would just
it's so
press,
gross.
yeah, just press names and it would explode. Um and then Mike, like you said, he he was so set against killing people, and he's so enraged at the end of this movie that he takes out these people in this hangar. And and he kind of staggers out of the hangar, and kind of like that, I won, but really at what cost kind of deal. And then he's standing there outside the hangar, he's looking up, and then we figure out that there's a camera that's looking at Mike. It kind of pans out, and then we see all of these other screens, and
The
there are
big grid.
it's a big grid, and a whole lot of other people are going through the same exact experiment. And we hear a voice at the end saying, "Stage 1 complete, stage 2, um, something," and
Commence stage 2 or whatever.
that's it. And get to the end of this. So I mean, Jesse, I picked this movie, but I got to get your thoughts on just what you thought about the entire movie, how it was set up, and if you enjoyed it.
I definitely enjoyed it. Definitely another great choice. You're getting me into these game movies, and I love it. Seriously, they're fun. They're fun. I liked this movie a lot. I liked the setup. What I really appreciated and was caught off guard was its location and the setting in Bogotá, Colombia. I was really surprised about that. I didn't look into the movie too much before, I watched the trailer and then I was like, I don't want to know anything else because I usually like going into movies cold, especially like game type movies. Um, so I really appreciated that the setting played a part in the movie, um, as like a foil, saying like, oh, we've got to have these tracking devices on you because we're in Colombia and you could be kidnapped and blah blah blah. And then you get a lot of Latin people in the movie, which I loved. Latin people like in all of the different positions, not just like oh well, we'll make all the janitors Spanish. Like it was like people in all different positions and ranks, which was awesome. Um, I want to know from you. Okay, so let's just say me and you work at Belko.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing? Who out of the two of us lasts longer? Because neither of us are making it to the end. I mean, you probably more so because you have all this game movie experience. So I'm thinking you would be thinking in terms of like strategy and like how to like move through whatever challenges, and what to do. So I guess I just answered my question, but what do you think? Like, if we're there, first of all, what are our jobs, and then like what are we doing?
mean, I'm probably in marketing. I mean, just because that's what I do 9 to 5 anyway. So,
Mm.
probably in marketing. Um, I'm trying to think. You know what? You would be an HR person or someone higher up. Like you would be one of our leaders because you're awesome.
Thank you. I think I'd be the new girl.
No, you wouldn't be the new girl, but I mean, in terms of lasting, and one day we've got to do an episode where we break down how to survive a game
That'd be
movie.
fun.
Um, but honestly, I mean, we would stick together. So I'd have your back. We'd be
Yeah.
so uh,
We'd be like in those like in the movies where you see like in the
back.
trailers like the back to back like like and all the glass like breaking everywhere.
I mean, that's us. That's us. And
That's us.
it's like, listen, at the end, I feel like I would say if I were the lone survivor like Mike, I'd say, listen, you got to take both of us or neither. That would probably be our demise. Like that, they would probably take
They'd
out
be
both.
like, fine then, bye. Pop pop. Yeah.
And then they'd say no survivors from Bill.
No survivors from Colombia. The Colombia experiment didn't go well.
Not so well because
Not
this
so
dude,
well.
he's got to be cut through.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
but yeah, I mean, it's crazy because for me, I don't even know. Like, I forget how I found out about this movie, but it looked so fun to me, and I was like, this looks like something I would like. I mean, it looks like something I would enjoy. So let me check it out. I'm ashamed to admit how many times I've seen this movie. Like,
Oh, really? I thought you had just seen it once.
no,
Oh, wow.
I've probably
Okay.
seen this movie conservatively 12 times.
What? It's a
Yeah,
fun movie, though. It is a fun movie.
such a fun movie, and it's like
Yeah.
the one. There are some things I really appreciate about it. One is the comedic timing of a lot of the characters, not just one or two. That's what's so good about it is that each character has their own kind of comedic moment throughout. I mean, you have your serious characters like the one guy that was with the higher ups. I mean, the big burly guy is just like screaming
Yeah.
that's just pissed off. He's not as funny. He has a couple funny spots, but not as much as others. But I mean, Mike's pretty funny. The guy that smokes weed, he's like, "Oh, we're gonna dump out all the water. It's the fluoride.
Yeah, that was so weird.
Dude, like, stop smoking so much. I mean, take a break." But it's such a fun movie, and if you are the type of horror fan that likes your gore and your suspense, but also likes your comedy intertwined in it. I feel like this movie handles comedy as well in those moments as any other horror movie, especially some that I've seen recently, because they don't overdo the comedy in it.
No,
It hits perfectly for me.
it's lightly spiced, like thrown in like a light spice. You know what I mean? It's just enough so that you're not just, white knuckling it the whole time.
Yeah.
And you need that. You
Yeah.
need the guy opening the freezer and seeing, like, icicles on his beard. You know what I mean? Like, because that's just too much, But yeah, for sure. I agree.
Okay, I gotta ask you this. Favorite and least favorite characters?
I Okay, least favorite character, but not least favorite actor or performance. Just least favorite character was John C. McGinley's character because he was so disgusting. Like, he was so genuinely, and he played it so well. He was so genuinely disgusting about everything, not just about like, being gross with his coworker, but like just being gross about everything. Everything was just so gross about him. So him definitely the least. And then I liked the security guard Evan.
Mm-hmm.
Was his name Evan? Am I making that up?
No, it was Evan.
Yeah, I liked him the best because, like I said, he was a noble character. He was funny, and he was just honest through and through. His character didn't have any ulterior motives or anything like that. So it was nice to have some of that in a sea of like people deciding what they're going to do and fighting with each other and amongst each other. And so it was nice to have, like a little bit of a goofball, but not too much. So yeah, it was too bad that he got, he kicked the bucket pretty pretty early on. But what about you?
Oh goodness. I'm gonna be different on this. Mike was probably my least favorite character.
Okay.
Just because I feel like had he embraced his role, because obviously people looked up to him. So had he embraced that earlier, who knows what could have happened? Who knows if they could have come up with some type of plan where, I mean, yeah, it sucks. You got to get rid of people. But at the same time, it's like, how do you have people that are looking to you for guidance and leadership?
I'm going to disagree with you there.
Okay.
Because I do remember in the beginning when they first heard the announcement over the overhead speaker, and he said to everybody, I think we need to leave. Like, I think we need to like leave the building. Everybody, let's go right now. And people were like, leave, wah, wah. Like, is just a joke? Are you even kidding me? And so I feel like yes, you're right. Like, if he had been able to come up with some sort of a like strategy or plan quicker, like be thinking on his feet a little bit more instead of trying to hack the chip out of his head, he could have maybe like had everybody together. But they were fighting so much, like they were fighting the fact they didn't, which is human nature. You don't want to believe that something terrible is happening. Your body will immediately go into like denial and just try to rationalize. It's rationalizing this. It's a joke. It's, this isn't right. So I think even had he done that, I don't know that anybody would have followed him. They didn't even want to follow him out the building. There was like just a few people that were actually trying to go down. So that's my argument. But, but I mean, at the same time, you do have a point. Like, had he been a strong leader, because like, what's his face, Barry, the COO, got people to listen to him right away, and he didn't even have to put hands on anybody to do it. So, to your point,
I guess for me, for Mike, it's just like you are right in the beginning. People did look at him that way, and a lot of it's because of how kind of aloof and goofy he could be, and you could see that very early on.
Yeah, that's true.
But once he tapped into that, okay, this is what we need to do. This is where we're going. Some people started really following him.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish he just would have done that sooner. I think my favorite character, like you said, was Evan, because
Yeah.
he was just fun. He was a fun guy.
Oh, a very fun guy. So on Movies to Be Murdered By, we like to rate our movies, leave you guys with a sense of, should you watch it or should you not watch it? We use a ratings based on headstones. So 1 headstone being a poop and 5 being excellent. Yep, 1 thumb up, 1 thumb down. Mr. I've seen this 12 times. Watson, how many headstones would you give this movie?
I'm going to give it a solid 4.
All right, cool.
I really enjoy this movie. Honestly, as soon as we're done, I'm probably going to go watch it again.
Nice. I would watch it again too. Like, I definitely want to watch this with Lewis, my husband, before, like, our episode comes out, so that he can, because it's enjoyable.
It is. It's one of those movies where it does have a watchability, rewatch factor. So that's good. But yeah, a solid 4 headstones. And I know the question that you're going to ask me next, because this is how much we like it. If we would get some ink, if we'd get a tattoo of the movie, and honestly, I would get some ink of the Belko Experiment.
What? This is a first. No, not a first in totality, but very rare. Do you say yes?
Very rare.
Wow. Okay. What would you get, do you think?
I don't know. Like, I'd have to think about what I would get. Honestly, the fact that we saw the little trackers, the little tracers, I might just get one of those little things.
Nice.
But yeah, I would get ink because I really enjoy this movie. It's fun. So yeah. What about you? Same 2 questions.
I give this movie a 4, and that's pushing it from 3.5. Not just because, like, I think it's a great movie, but I want to try to be a little bit more like, I want to hold back on my 4s and my 5 headstone ratings. But I give it a 4 because it takes place in Colombia. I just think it's fantastic. I think it's including, Latin American actors and the scenery and stuff you get at the beginning. Not so much, you just really kind of get it in the beginning, and then here and there when they go to the rooftop, because they're obviously inside a locked buildings for the most of the movie. But I love that. So I give it a 4, and I would not get ink on this movie, but it definitely was a fun movie, and I'm super glad that I saw it. And I would recommend it to people who don't mind, if you don't mind some gore. There is, there's killing in this movie. There's bodies on the floor. But it's fun. I don't know how to reconcile that, but it's a lot of fun. So whatevs. We don't have to reconcile anything.
It's a lot of fun. Check it out if you like that kind of stuff. So
definitely. So we are going to see you next week. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching us on YouTube, because we are now on YouTube. We are able to be contacted. Well, if you know us personally, you can just text us. But if you don't, email us moviestobemurderedby@gmail.com. We're on Twitter and Instagram, not too frequently, but we are going to be coming back around to social media. We're making our way back. So we will see you soon. Thank you so much. Thanks, Jeff.
Peace out.
Bye.
Game over.